All right, you good now? We will go ahead and start this November meeting again. Thanks everyone for coming. Um, we'll begin with our consent agenda, it looks like. Has everyone had time to take a look at the October meeting minutes and the financial report from staff? I believe we have two financial reports in the box, September
Yes.
and October. I believe we didn't have the September one prepared for the October meeting. We decided to just approve them both. Everyone that's had an opportunity, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided.
I
So
move
moved.
to approve. Yeah.
I got a motion from John West and
Second.
a second from Jason Benetti. All right, we'll do roll call. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Kyle? Yep. Heather?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
And Melanie?
Yes.
And I make it unanimous. Consent agenda has been passed. Thank you, everyone. We have no voting items on the agenda today, so we just have some general items of discussion. I'm going to let Nate kick this off on item 5 of our agenda, which is the acquisition disposition committee. It looks like he goes on down to about public outreach. So, Nate, take it away.
Yes. So in the inbox, there's something that says the fall 2023 ask or fall ask 2023. And I think everybody's aware that the original ask that we made to the county back in May or at the end of April was not awarded. And so anyways, as a result of that, and then talking about in this meeting, Kyle suggested that we get together with the auditor and the treasurer to have a discussion about how this needs to proceed for us to be able to make an ask and that to be turned into a resolution presented to the commissioners. So anyways, we had that meeting with and Commissioner Henry also joined, and they gave us some inputs and parameters. I think we talked about this last board meeting, but just bringing everybody up to speed. Since then, we had another meeting where actually I was accompanied by in 10 Indiana folk, Jeb Reese and Ben Harris, and then also Jason Haney from Eco Rehab. So it was we presented formally, or at least to the auditor and the treasurer, and asked for 2 lists of property. One for a cluster of properties in the Old West End. You can see, I think there's 14. There's two Excel sheets you can look at. Cluster properties in the Old West End that are connected to this development, medium scale development project that we're hoping to do next year, or get started next year on in the Old West End. We presented basically a portfolio of documents talking about our financing, talking about who Intend is, talking about the actual strategy, and so yeah, then Mr. Carroll said that he was going to have that was 2 Fridays ago. So he was going to have a discussion with the commissioners yesterday. And then also the second list, that is 22 properties, vacant lots and structures that we're asking for. And those are connected to our nonprofit constituency that we're mostly working with on the south side of town. And anyways, we also, in addition to that, we'll talk a little bit more about, I think below, we had a week in Austin, Texas, at the Vacant Property Leadership Institute. We were joined by Commissioner King and Brad Bookout, along with John and Ken Hudson. And so we had an opportunity to talk in detail about our ask, in addition to a lot of other things related to the land bank. So I am confident that we're going to get both these lists approved by commissioners. There's still some work to be done, and I could be there might be some glitches that we need to work out. But anyways, that's a big, obviously, a big hurdle potentially cleared. And so, yeah, I really want to thank Kyle for initiating that. And then also, yeah, everybody else who's been helping figure this piece out. I don't want to, again, get too.
Hey, Nate, have
Yes.
you provided the commissioners and the auditor and treasurer a map of all these yet? Because I know that was one thing I think Commissioner Henry asked for, was a map, so they kind of had an idea of where everything was.
Actually, that is something that I don't think I sent on Wednesday to Mr. Carroll.
Okay.
I will follow up. We just had sent him that non-interactive like picture of ArcGIS map of Old West End, but
Okay.
there are other properties.
Yeah, I can help put something together for you guys. That's no problem.
Okay, that would be. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep.
Hey, Nate, do you
Yeah.
have to make a formal request for these properties at an upcoming commissioners meeting? Or was the papers that you already submitted sufficient for them?
That's still always a little bit of a ambiguous piece. Like, what is the formal process? I think if kind of behind the scenes, if the commissioners are on board, then we would have to. It would be heard at one of their commissioners' meetings, and then at the following meeting there would be a resolution passed. I'm gonna email the auditor or the treasurer this afternoon and say, hey, was there any feedback from the meeting that they were going to have yesterday? Yeah. I don't know, Kyle, if that's something that you want to poke your nose into and ask, or if that meeting happened, or is it just best for me to email?
I would just follow up with them and see if they were able to meet.
You can do that,
or you can.
Okay, just follow up. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's go ahead.
The sense that I got from spending some time with people who work in the county at the VPLI was that anything we can do to assist in terms of providing information, making the ask clear, checking in routinely, that really is what needs to happen. So it's kind of just as much as possible coming in, talking, sharing information, and I think that definitely part of that is a formal resolution that we get on the agenda for the commissioners meeting. We share the packet of information. I don't know if there are other board members who would be willing to come and make that formal ask, just so they can see the diversity of our board. Just as kind of as much contact as we can possibly have, I think is where we need to be.
Yeah, and we can kind of jump down to point 9, Brad, if that's okay. Just kind of mix these things. So that's the update about the Vacant Property Leadership Institute. So I mean, again, this is more of a one-off ask, which is great, and maybe it's clear. But what we really want is an agreement with the county that says after a certain number of tax sales, they offer property to us, kind of automatically. We're not there yet, and we kind of brought that up at the Leadership Institute. I think the suggestion was more, hey, look, just come to me, and we'll make this happen, which is helpful now, but it's not helpful for building kind of long term, um, yeah, connection with the county. Um, but yeah, so this specific ask, I mean, I think um, once that they tell, I think I'll follow up. They'll tell us, Nate, you are going to be on the agenda for this commissioners meeting to be heard, and then I would get in contact with the board and say, hey, we're going to be included in the agenda. It would be great if you could come just to kind of show yourself as connected to the land bank. But so yes, I don't know. I just basically said what John said.
Yeah, and just as a quick report out on item 9, we left on Tuesday, rode down from Daleville to the airport with Commissioner King, spent from Tuesday to Friday afternoon in Austin. I would say we did about 24 hours of structured information or teaching about vacant property, abandoned property, land banking, the kind of like the full spectrum from the time that a property becomes distressed to, the point of reuse. It was extremely useful. It was, I think, a very wise expenditure on the part of the land bank to bring people down, because I think all of us live in this world and we can see, how complicated the process is and why it doesn't work. But for people who are just like half a step removed from that, they don't know. And we had people who came with us saying things like, my eyes are open. Like I didn't realize that this is how these processes work. So I just wanted to, very thankful to the people who traveled down with us. But I'm especially thankful to Nate, because putting that together was extremely difficult. His travel agent, convincing people to come down, and just everything went off 100% smoothly. And I think it leaves us in a different position now. I think that it leaves us in a different position with the people who came down with us. In addition to that, I think that if possible, we should be looking for opportunities like this in the future. I'd say like maybe 40% of the information at this conference was really relevant for people who are building commissioner, for people who work in a CD office, for people who do, for people who do housing development. And so if there are future opportunities to bring some of those folks from the city who touch the front end of the, vacant abandonment process, that would be really, I think that's the other key step. But again, I just wanted to thank Nate and thank everybody who came down with us, because I think it really put us in a different spot.
Thanks, John.
Who hosted that meeting in Texas? Who actually formed is it an ongoing annual meeting or just a one-off?
It's an organization called the Center for Community Progress. I've been to 3 conferences of theirs since I've been on board. They also have a subsidiary of theirs is the National Land Bank Network, and Heather and I and Joe were there at their summit about a month ago, and then they have a kind of revitalizing cities conference that they do every year. That was in Chicago last year, and we're going to go again in St. Louis this year or the following year. It's every 2 years. This was a competitive process that you had to apply as part of a state cohort. So we were actually applying as Indiana. So it was Muncie, Kokomo, and Gary. And I don't think we can participate in this conference again for I think 5 years because they want new states to be involved. And I would just also say this is one of the things that Intend and Jeb Reese helped also to kind of put on my map and really encourage me along to say, Nate, keep at it, don't give up, because it was something that we had to get endorsement from the city, and it's always a challenge to get people to sign off on things, and then people to commit to going. So yeah, I agree. Getting people in, I mean, it was basically we were selling, they were listening to information that we wanted to share with them for 3 days. And then having kind of strategic follow-up conversations, breakout sessions with them about how can we apply this to Muncie. And the folks that were coming from the county were really, really receptive and really attentive, and affirming. I mean, I think there's a relationship there.
And did I hear you, Nate, said you had other Muncie or other land banks from around Indiana that attended as well? Or just us?
At this specific conference, there was mostly city and county officials that were
Okay.
people but a lot of these cities are thinking about trying to develop a land bank or are doing some type of land banking through the redevelopment commission and want to build it out. So land banking was a big discussion through all of it.
Yeah.
And for me, I learned a lot. And just actually learning how to communicate things. I think also hearing it from experts and then helps me with communicating better.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
There was also some discussion about statewide efforts to encourage land banking. That was a really interesting discussion, because there, the folks in Kokomo have figured out how to make things work through interlocal agreements. And they really have a nice system, and it's something that I'd like to continue trying to understand and maybe bringing them here, just because they've had so much success in the past, I don't know, decade, moving from a situation where there was a lot of capital flight to a situation where they have a tight housing market.
Nate, can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
The trip was it to Texas?
Austin, Texas.
Got you. Thank you.
And so the land bank, we covered flights, except for John, and everything was paid for by the Center for Community Progress. Hotel, food, they did a really great job as far as lodging, those kind of logistics. And so I in the agenda here, in point 9, we were talking about the governance and merged governmental relations committee. I think it'd be great if we could set up a meeting to talk about how we can best leverage this opportunity. What's that look like? Again, I think the home run is what we talk about as an interlocal agreement with the county, but getting closer to that is that's what we're trying to do. So maybe having a meeting to talk about some strategy, and anybody else. So in that committee is Kyle is the chair, and Jason and Jim are in that committee. But if anybody else wants to participate, I'll send out an email to try to set up that meeting later.
All right, I think we've skipped around a bit. Would that account for both 5, 6, and 9?
I think 5 and 9.
All right. So I guess next is, I guess 6 was First Friday. So you want to give us an update how First Friday went, and then we'll move on to a proposal looks like.
Yeah, First Friday was great. It was we had a timely speaker with something that I've been working on, and a lot of other folks been participating and working on it themselves. Trevor Friedeberg, who's the president of the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership, who that's the organization that's been facilitating the Ready 2.0 grant submission process. He came in and talked and focused on one of the priorities identified through their listing process here in East Central Indiana, Delaware County, has been housing. So he came in and talked a little bit about the Ready 2.0, but specifically we spent some time talking about the housing priority and kind of the sub objectives that are part of that category. It was a good meeting. The best part of the meeting was after Trevor left, and actually, unfortunately, the cameras, the recording that we do was turned off, and we had public dialogue for about 45 minutes. But it was a good meeting, and again, timely for a big moment for all of us vying for these Ready 2.0 dollars, which I'll talk a little bit more. The next point, I wanted to throw out too that we originally been planning on using December 1st, the next meeting, for the students that are in my studio class that are doing work in the Old West End, kind of investigating, listening. We thought that could be a space for them to do more of a community-wide meeting. However, Tom Collins, and then there's also another studio. Tom Collins, professor at Ball State of architecture. He's has a studio class. They're doing some work in the Old West End and downtown neighborhoods. So now the idea is actually the December 8th to do a big kind of presentation exhibition between all these 3 studios at the Yard at Eco Rehab's new site, where we're going to integrate into a community meeting there. So that to say, December 1st meeting, we don't have anybody yet. I have been not thinking about that this week just because other things have been going on. But anybody have any suggestions? John, I saw your hand go up. Heather's hand go up.
That guy who served as treasurer in Kokomo, he emailed me, and
the guy that, yeah,
you remember he was at the state.
yeah.
He knows
Yes.
his stuff inside and out, and he could
Yes.
talk to us about sort of the practice that they've developed in Kokomo.
In my mind, that was the Kyle Johnson of Kokomo when I met him. That's what I thought that is. Kind of looks like it.
Can't remember his name was Mark. I'll forward you the email.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
I would personally suggest that you just don't do December 1st and tell everyone to go to the meeting on December 8th, because that sounds incredibly interesting and like something that everyone should go to. But asking people to go to 2 meetings back to back on Fridays is probably unrealistic.
What's the 8th again?
When Tom Collins' studio and Nate's studio the students are going to present all the information that they've been gathering and an introduction to the Yard, which I think a lot of the people who go to First Friday would be really interested in seeing. And then you wouldn't have to double duty any food. You could just do food at the 8th meeting.
Yeah.
I like Heather's idea. I think that that gives us time to bring in John's idea at the beginning of the new year, where we can begin to think about that. MOA or interlocal agreement with the county commissioners. Having a county treasurer from somewhere like Kokomo might provide us with a little bit of insight.
Can you tell us the time block that the thing on the 8th is? I just want to get my calendar.
It is tentatively 3 to 7. And 3 to 7 on December 8th, and I want to make sure I have it right in this agenda if I included it. Oh yeah, there's an error in this. So under the public outreach marketing communications, I mentioned Neighborhood Studio final presentation. So anyway, ignore that. December 8th from 3 to 7 p.m. There's going to be a big powwow at the yard. We are hoping to have maybe at 3:30 an official presentation from my and Jeb's studio with Intend staff and the land bank board. So it's a little bit more formal within that block of time. Them have an hour and some space there to present officially to their clientele, the MLB board and the Intend team. And then that will roll into a couple of additional hours of exhibition and pictures and food and kind of walking around and talking.
So Nate, so you're saying that the official presentation will be at 3:30 and it'll be about an hour.
Yes.
Okay. I would just make sure that when you're advertising the event that people know that.
Yes.
But it being right around the holidays too, kind of in between the two holidays, it's kind of nice to have that sort of like social hour too. I think for the First Friday group, because this is a group that's been meeting now for several months, and it's kind of like also a casual networking sort of thing. So that they know that they can come before at 3 or stay after the presentation, and have that opportunity to have some food, to network, to talk to people.
Yeah.
And then
great.
I blanked on actually writing down the name that you said, John. Who is the individual? And then you said they were from Kokomo. That would be like a treasurer from Kokomo. That would be a good addition for First Friday in the future.
He's former treasurer. I have to search my inbox to find his name. I'll do that.
That's okay. Don't worry about that. So he's a former treasurer from.
His name is Reed Weston.
That's it. Yeah. I'll type in I'll forward the email to Nate. Do you want to see it too, Heather?
Sure, if you don't mind. That way I can just gather that information for the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, that was great suggestion. And I'm happy with not trying to figure out December 1st, first Friday. And I like the idea of what Brad said about if we're going to bring somebody from Kokomo, it gives us time to prepare, talk a little bit more about county local agreement from our end, and then be more prepared for his visit. That could be first Friday and some strategic meetings with the land bank. So, okay, so I will make those announcements publicly in email, social media.
I just forwarded the email. What is the date of First Friday in January? I mean, are we going to be punishing people with like right after the 1st?
The January is January 5th.
What do you all think? I mean, is that?
I think that's far enough after the 1st that people should be back into the swing of working, sadly. We should all have all of January off, but.
They do in Guatemala.
The Kyle made a map.
Thanks, Kyle.
When does Ball State start back?
The week after.
Yeah, maybe we could.
Yeah. I have to go back to work. I mean, I'm sure Jim does too.
I
Me too, but I just am
don't
thinking
think I
about
get it off. Heather, you get it off. Good for you.
No, I think our holiday ends on the 2nd. Yeah, and then we have to go back to work.
well, in terms of an audience, I mean, I'm wondering if we would want some Ball State people to be in attendance. Maybe not. But I definitely think it would be great if we could get some city and some county people in the room. And if having it on the 5th is going to prevent us from doing that, because I think that the story that he's going to tell is mostly relevant for elected officials and staff.
I think that it gives some folks something to do on their Friday night. Most of us are going to be back and work on site for government. I think the other thing is we can just record their presentation. But we noticed you didn't come. Take a look at what we have for you. You know, kind of thing. Like, hey, man, you missed it. We recorded it. We think this is super useful for you. You know, take a look and let us know what questions you have. We record them anyway, don't we?
Is anybody else having trouble understanding Brad?
Yes.
Oh, man, is this any better?
Oh,
Yes.
much better.
Oh,
Much better.
I guess I have to sit up. Sorry.
Yeah, the last 2 minutes you just kind of wasted because I don't think it was.
Oh, it's not just the last 2 minutes, Jim. It
It
is not just the last 2 minutes. Let me just tell you that right now. So, I think that the 5th could give some folks something to look forward to on that Friday, the first Friday back from the holiday. Most of us in government will be back on the 2nd anyway. We record these for the most part, so we could say, hey, we noticed this person who we kind of were hoping to come, we noticed you didn't show up. We really think this is, pertinent to our relationship. We've recorded it. You just follow this link, follow up with us with any questions you have. We'll follow up and see if you enjoyed or understood the video. How's that sound? Was that better? Just got quiet afterwards. I just killed the room.
I guess, Nate, it depends on the speaker. If they're available on the 5th, then, shoot for that. Because yeah, I agree with Brad. Like, most of us are going to be back to work. And if we want Ball State people to come, they're not teaching that day. So it's also an option for I would think more of an option for them to be able to come. But if the speaker isn't available on the 5th, then maybe think about it, maybe pushing it back a week, I guess. But I mean, if you keep changing the day of First Friday, people are going to get really confused. And if we're changing the first Friday in December, and then we change the first Friday in January, then people are like, is it actually the first Friday?
Sure.
Okay. Then we'll stick with it. And it may not be that this Reed Weston is the guy who we use for that meeting, but I think the message for me is we need to stay with January 5th meeting. And so I do have some other folks that I've gotten from feedback about from you all that I keep a list. So that gives me enough time, I think, for finding someone by January 5th. Should move on to fundraising development committee. Okay. if you have the agenda there, you can read through what's happening there. We've got multiple grants that have been submitted, some smaller grants. We did get um, a rapid grant from Ball Brothers Foundation.
Was it 75 or 7.1?
There was a 75. There was a
Okay.
75 that we got, and that's tied to the project in the Old West End. And then in addition to that, we got a rapid grant, which um, we are we proposed using for to hire a new graduate assistant for next year that would help with well, it'd be another urban planning master student, but the student that I'm thinking of has a really interesting background in community organizing. Spent some time working with on housing issues, community organizing out in Tempe, Arizona. So I got to know him. He went with my the group that I took to Mexico, and anyways, he seemed like a really interested and sharp, and so we're gonna use that funding for that. Um, Yeah, there-
It was salary potentially being picked up by 10. Right?
yes, so I'm still waiting for some of the details to be presented, but um, uh, we talked to intend about them helping with Joe's salary, um, and it sounds like they want to hire Joe. Um, there's a process to it, but they want to hire Joe, and part of the agreement would be that he would be seconded to Muncie for halftime. Um, I want to make sure we don't lose Joe.
Right.
We need Joe. So we want to make sure that this agreement is beneficial to us. But it is very beneficial economically because we're paying Joe as a grad assistant, not as a private citizen with a master's degree and experience in land banking. So yes, and then so the Ready Grant. So that I've included some of the inputs in box. I don't know if you've looked at it. There's kind of a project narrative. The budget is getting close. Just for so you guys can get an idea of what it looks like. And we're waiting for a very important part of the Ready grant thing is showing a match. And so each of the organizations. So again, we've been talking about Old West work in the Old West End with Intend Indiana. For this grant proposal, we have now we're now bringing in a group of nonprofits that have a footprint in the Old West End into this grant proposal because they like collaboration. You know, they're doing these nonprofits are doing similar things in a similar area. It's much more comprehensive, the kind of development we'd be able to do. And it also brings in the match that is, again, a very important piece of how they'll evaluate projects. So you can see an example from Pathstone in their commitment letter. And we're kind of probably overshooting some degree, but the whole process has been pretty vague as far as some of the specifics. You know, what is a match? Yes,
Remind me, what are they asking as a match? Is it a 1-to-1 match?
it's a 4-to-1.
4-to-1.
They
Okay.
want a 4, and then they'll match 1. But it's not just what we bring to the table, not just our proposal. It's what East Central Indiana brings to the table. So, you know, there's a lot of money that's being invested in Muncie right now, the university.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
we met this morning with Chad and Phil Tevis and Brad Jerome. And for example, in that list is the $180 million we're investing in the village. They believe that is legitimate, can be applied towards the match. the number is big. I mean, there is a lot of good things going on in the Muncie area right now in Delaware County. So I think making the match is not an issue. It's just getting everything in there you want. The whole process, I think, Nate, you're correct. Even when I listened to it this morning, I went, I still don't understand this. At the end of the day, somebody gets to pick the projects out of the hopper that get potential funding. But yeah, still very complex in how they actually select. Unless somebody understands it better than I do.
It sounds like they're using a huge carrot. Oh, sorry, Annette, go ahead.
I was gonna say I didn't either, so I feel good to hear someone else express that. I think part of my struggle with it was maybe I was kind of late to the game to understand everything. I'm also having a little bit of an issue understanding the timeline too. So I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah. And I would just say, I don't think it's because East Central Indiana Regional Partnership isn't doing a good job to, at least sharing information and creating space for people to talk. It comes from the state. It is not clear. And I think maybe they want it that way. But they're offering a big stick of potentially $75 million of investment for East Central Indiana. And as I understand it, this is going to be may change, but this is the only housing development proposal in the hopper, going into the hopper, which the submission the first submission is due today at 5 p.m. So, and I would say land banking is something that ECIRP, the East Central Regional Partnership, has shown a lot of interest in. That they've actually pulled me into some spaces and says, Nate, talk about land banking, because it is innovative, and because housing has been identified as one of the urgent needs. New tools are being are more and more relevant to everybody across the political spectrum, across the whatever spectrum. And so we're the only land bank in East Central Indiana. We're one of 5 in the state. We have a really great important role for the region, not just for Muncie. If we can show how land banking can be leveraged, and then say, hey, replicate this. And that's kind of what we're talking about in this proposal.
And that brings up something that also came up in the VPLI week, was there's a strong interest, or at least I wouldn't say strong interest. There was discussion about the land bank figuring out a way to operate outside of the city of Muncie. And that would probably involve, we're within state statute, we're not permitted to operate outside of the city that created us. So we were talking about creating like a relatively tightly held but jointly, but also autonomous consulting nonprofit that can do work outside of Muncie. So we'd share some of our board. We'd ask people in the county to appoint some board members to this entity, and then it wouldn't be established under the state enabling legislation. It would just be like a normal nonprofit, and we would use some of the capacity of the land bank to help that organization function. Brad, looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, this county has had a ability to create a land bank since before municipalities in Indiana. It's been codified by state law. They could create their own land bank, but now they wouldn't even have to create a new entity. They could create a land bank by ordinance and designate it as this entity.
Yeah, but I think they like what we do, and they want us to do the same thing out.
That's why I just said that they would designate the land bank as a county land bank. You would end up operating under 2 state codes. So when you operate within the municipality, you would follow 35-38, when you operate outside, you would follow the Enabling Act, legislation that allows counties to do that.
The problem with that is that the state law requires board appointments to be quite different. So the top 5 cities within the area, within the county. So we would need an appointment from Winchester, from Selma, from what's that? Oh, Yorktown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does it say city?
Yeah, top 5 cities. So that's where the challenge comes in. Is we actually couldn't operate under both.
Or towns?
Yeah.
So in Indiana, there's a difference. The town has to apply to become a third-class city.
Okay.
So I think we should look into this, the code, because they have the ability to generate we can work with them to either be that entity or create them. So I don't think it's that difficult.
And just from where I sit, I mean, I think again it would be a wonderful thing to be able to when we're talking about property and receiving property of the county to say we're working and we have the ability to work in the whole region. Now that would create some challenges as far as how the land bank is. Yeah, the board composition. We would need more staffing, and we wouldn't want it to diminish our presence in Muncie because Muncie's where the overwhelming need is. But there are some of this you do see in some of the smaller towns, and I think it would be and something that came up. It was something where when it came up, there was a lot of energy from the county representation. And some ideas too, like thinking about could the land bank operate outside of Muncie and be more involved in things that are potentially profitable, which could then feed the work that's less profitable and harder places in life. So it was an interesting conversation. It would take a lot of work, I think, and agreements and those kinds of things, but it's something that I kind of feel like we shouldn't be afraid of. And maybe we could also talk about that in our governance and government relations committee meeting.
Sounds good. And I think we've jumped all over this. I've lost which timeline.
I think we're on number 8, public outreach, marketing, communications. There's not we talked about this. So point B there, 8B, we've already talked about that. That's the December 8th. Ignore those dates and how that's separated out. One event, December 8th at the yard, 3 to 7 p.m. I'll work on an agenda with Tom and send out information to everybody on the board, and then also make that publicly known. I don't know, Heather, if you want to update quickly on the housing summit.
Sure. Just super briefly.
Yes.
We're still tentatively planning for April 5th, but there is a chance that date might change just because we're waiting. Elizabeth is really interested in bringing in Heather Presley Cohen, and we're checking to see if she's available on the 5th. So there's going to be a space for the land bank to do a brief lunch presentation. We're going to do kind of like a Pecha Kucha of a couple of local nonprofits that are working in housing, just so that the audience has an idea of the successes that we're seeing in the neighborhood work thanks to the nonprofit. So the land bank will have space during lunch to present. That's really the only I think important update for us here at this meeting.
Who's the speaker?
Heather Presley Cohen would be the afternoon speaker. I've seen her. Annette, didn't you have her speak at one of your annual events? I feel like I've heard her speak before.
I don't think we've worked with Heather, and she really knows a lot about housing. Specifically, she was a consultant with us in the city of Muncie for the local Chodos. She
That
worked with
might be why.
HPG. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be
Mhm.
why she sounds familiar,
That's
but
probably why. Yeah.
okay,
But
thank you.
she's good.
Yeah, she's very highly recommended in her ability to encourage people to use market analysis and planning in their future development goals. That's kind of the way that I'm taking what Elizabeth is saying. So we're looking at her as our keynote speaker in the afternoon.
Can I ask another question? How is that housing summit? What's the process for organizing it?
Well, it was in the Vision 2027 plan. So in DAC's plan, they call for a housing summit. So the Office of Community Engagement, Muncie Land Bank, and Muncie Action Plan have partnered together to plan this. So Nate's there, myself, Tracy Lutton, and Elizabeth Rowe are working to plan the summit. And more than likely, it will happen at Ball State at the Student Center. And this is just kind of like, this is the first one. If this is successful, it's like the first IDEA conference that we held. We built off of that first one to where we are today with the 9th one. So if it's successful, hopefully we'll bring it back again a second year.
And I would just add that the morning session is where I've been invited to kind of help a little bit, at least initially we're trying to figure out how do we do a good job of setting the stage so that the market analysis really reflects what's going on in Muncie, so that the afternoon speaker has something to work with, and we're working off actual data, evidence-based kind of data.
Well, it's going to be Sang Lim and you and Michael who are producing that housing market analysis. Hopefully, it might be interesting to include some of the people who are doing the market analysis.
And we did talk about that, John, at our last planning meeting, and we thought it would be really interesting to have the students, be a part of that process too, especially if it's happening on Ball State's campus, and for them to be at the conference, perhaps presenting in that morning session. And Nate had mentioned I think it was IHCDA was interested in using Muncie as a test subject for some of the data analysis that they're doing. So kind of, absolutely figuring out how we set the stage at the very beginning in the morning. This is what our market looks like. And then all the conversations and the breakout sessions that have to happen after that are feeding off of that baseline data.
Heather, would you like to be included in we're trying to put together a meeting with Stephen Enns, who's the guy at IHCDA who created the new data dashboard that we're going to be using for the market analysis. He might be an interesting person to bring into that morning session because he's like second. I mean, he's the data guy for IHCDA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a conversation, maybe you, me, Nate, Stephen, we can all, Sang Lim, we can all sit down and talk about what that morning session is going to look like.
Sorry to take us in a different direction. I was just thinking that through.
Right. I think that covers point 8. 9, the Governance and Governmental Relations Committee, we've covered that.
We're down to the data committee, number 10. update on Scout Month?
It, again, that's just, I threw that in there. There's not a update yet. Just let everybody know that we have had a meeting and we're talking about doing an additional, doing Scout Muncie 2.0. And yeah, it's something that's in the process. But it's connected to, obviously what we were just talking about and having it. Camila, sorry. She's going downstairs. I'm sorry.
I think we're wrapping up anyway, Nate. So if that's all we got for the Scout Muncie. Our next meeting is going to be December 15th here on Zoom at 9:00. This I'd give a privilege of the floor. If you guys, if anyone has anything to bring to the board, this is the time. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. I want to thank everyone for coming. Have a great weekend and see you on the 8th.
Thank you, everybody, for drudging through this and being patient with all the inputs and late reminders and those kinds of things. But thank you for being here this morning.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
You're on mute, John.
Are you trying to take off, Nate?
Not if you, I was, yeah. Anything, something on your mind?
No, I just wanted to. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the way that the class relates to the housing summit. And yeah, I guess you just gotta figure that out.
Well, I mean, you sent an email to St. Limbs, Stephen Enns, maybe Michael Hicks too.
Not Michael, no.
Okay.
Michael
You sent
Brady.
Brady, yeah, okay.
And Sanglim Christine is working on that to try to make it, to try to
Okay.
find time. Yeah.
Okay. Because Stephen didn't respond, I don't think, to your email, right?
Yeah, but Christine, I think, called him and
Okay.
she's been in touch. She's figuring it out.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a bit of a pain in the ass for Stephen in the past. He wanted to do this fall, and I just kind of ghosted him around
Mhm.
September because I got busy. And so now I'm trying to reestablish, see what we can do.
Okay. Yeah,
Anyway,
that sounds good to me.
I'm just sitting here because I'm typing some emails.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Have a good
Thanks,
trip. Oh,
Sean.
you need me to go to commissioners meeting on Monday?
I mean, that's a lot to ask, but if you're up for it and can kind of be the bridge,
Can
I'm
you
gonna
see if
send an
Kyle
email.
will come too?
Sure, I'll send an email to Kyle and you.
Okay, sounds good.
Explain the situation. But I'm gonna send an email right now to Ed and Brad Polk, Ed Carroll, Brad Polk, and say, hey, it ain't come of it. So this is what happens. You have to like stay aggressive.
Yeah,
They might just
absolutely.
not
'Cause
respond.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, bye.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Bye.